The earliest recorded use of an unmanned aerial vehicle during a war was in July of 1849. The Austrian forces used a balloon carrier. It was the first offensive use of air power without any human intervention. The Austrian forces at that time were besieging the Italian city of Venice. They floated around 200 incendiary balloons, each carrying about 30 pounds worth bombs that were to be dropped from the balloon with a time fuse over Venice. The balloons were mainly launched from land. Some were also launched from the Austrian ship, the SMS Volcano. Now, the Austrians used smaller pilot balloons to determine the correct fuse settings, but at the time that the balloons had to drop off the bombs, there were massive winds that happened right after the launch. As a result, most of the balloons ended up missing their target, and Venice was saved. In fact, some of the balloons even drifted back over the Austrian lines. Now, that was the earliest recorded use of drone technology or unmanned aerial vehicles. But drone technology has evolved leaps and bounds since then. The White House said this past week that Iran was gearing up to supply Russia with hundreds of drones, many of them armed. Putin is in Iran to meet with the country's new president, as also the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. There's going to be a summit of the three heads of state. It was uncertain whether these deliveries had already started from Iran to Russia, but the United States believes that the training is all set to take place as early as this month. On Crux Decode, just what exactly are these drones that Iran intends to sell to Russia, and what impact might they have on the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Iran has a robust and varied drone ecosystem. It's been a major supplier of drones for decades. This has largely, of course, been driven by sanctions, because Iran has been unable to import military aircraft or drones. They are unable to build large combat jets, as a result of which Iran became a specialist in combat drones. Now, way back in 2014, military experts had noted that whether we like it or not, Iran is a drone power. Iran typically exports its drones to proxies like the Hezbollah or the Houthis in Yemen. Now, these terrorist groups use these drones to attack targets either in Israel or in Saudi Arabia. But it also supplies them on a more commercial basis to customers in Venezuela as well as in Ecuador, and also to some friendly states in Africa. Now, this thriving drone industry produces dozens of different kinds of drones, from large aircraft with a range of thousands of miles to hand-launched tactical models, which are called loitering munitions. Now, this is what the White House statement said.
And that is that our information indicates that the Iranian government is preparing to provide Russia with up to several hundred UAVs, including weapons-capable UAVs, on an expedited timeline. Our information further indicates that Iran is preparing to train Russian forces to use these UAVs, with initial training sessions slated to begin as soon as early July. It's unclear whether Iran has delivered any of these UAVs to Russia already.
Now, this is what U.S. National Security Advisor also told reporters. Jake Sullivan, he spoke to reporters just before U.S. President Joe Biden left for a trip to the Middle East. Now, many commentators assumed from the numbers involved that these must be small surveillance drones, or what we referred to a moment ago as loitering munitions. But there's a couple of problems with that theory. One is that Russia already has plenty of small drones. In fact, the Orlan 10, or the Eagle, is the workhorse of the Russian drone fleet. With a wingspan of 10 meters and a flight time of up to 16 hours with a piston engine which almost sounds like a motor scooter, it efficiently locates targets for Russian artillery as well as rockets within 3 minutes. That is compared to the half an hour that's taken by other unmanned aerial vehicles. Now, while Russia has lost at least 70 Orlans so far, there may be as many as 2,000 that are currently in service. The term weapons-capable UAV, which is the statement that Jake Sullivan made, it is very important to note here, because the White House knows that the term loitering munition is for drones that are fitted with warheads in case you want to have kamikaze-style attacks. Weapons-capable UAV is used for larger drones that can carry bombs, cluster munitions, missiles, or even rockets. Russia is desperately short of these armed drones. They are equivalent to the Bayraktar, which is the Turkish drones, the TB2s, that have been provided by Turkey to Ukraine and have been very successfully deployed in this particular war. The nearest that Russia has to the Bayraktar is the Orion E. Now, there was a video that was released back in March of one of the Orion E's carrying out a strike at a military facility in Ukraine, but since then, it seems to be missing in action. It is unclear how many Orion E drones are actually in service in the Russian fleet. Now, nonetheless, Iran and its Ministry of Foreign Affairs put out a statement denying any such proposal. But the fact of the matter is that Iran has supplied in the past with other friendly countries similar drone technology. Now, Iran has several types of battle-proven drones which are capable of launching missiles. It's got the Mohajir 6, which it exported to Ethiopia. It also has the Shahid 129, which it fielded successfully both in Syria and in Iraq. The Shahid 129 has a wingspan of 50 feet. It has a Rotax engine. It's the same one that's used in the US Predator drones. It gives it a cruising speed of about 100 miles an hour, and it can fly for up to 20 hours at a stretch. The Shahid 129 also carries smart bombs with precision guided, which are capable of hitting moving targets. Now, this type of drone could possibly be high on Moscow's shopping list because it has a potential for long-range missions, which is what Moscow needs desperately in this war with Ukraine. Remember, the US has been supplying HIMARS, or the mobile rocket launchers, to Ukraine, which have been currently devastating Russian ammunition depots and command centers. The Russian Air Force is only flying a limited number of sorties, and so far, at least in this war, the Russian Air Force has proven to be incapable of hitting such moving targets, possibly because of a shortage of guided weapons. Now, this may be behind the fiasco that happened earlier this week when two Russian Sukhoi 27s attempted to bomb targets on Snake Island. They not only missed the targets, but they missed the island itself. The Russians have also lost at least 30 combat aircraft from what appears to be a rather small operational fleet. Now, clearly, Russia is also reluctant to risk these assets any further. Iran could even supply Russia with stealth drones, having developed a whole series of uncrewed or unmanned vehicles copied from the US RQ-170 Sentinel, which crashed in Iran in 2011. Now, these are known as the Simorgh class. They share a distinctive flying wing shape. Two of these, the Shahid 181 and the Shahid 191, were shown off during the Great Prophet exercise, which happened in 2020. In theory, these are harder for air defenses to detect, but Israel appears to have shot down several Iranian drones of this quality. Now, it's not clear how much US intelligence knows about this deal, whether Iran will be able to deliver what it has promised, or whether the Russian forces will be able to effectively use any of the deliveries that they actually end up getting. So far, their track record in this has been rather poor. Resorting to Iranian drones suggests a certain desperation on Russia's part. It also underlines just how important unmanned vehicles and unmanned systems are becoming in modern warfare. The future of warfare, as somebody said, is clearly without human intervention.